This is Democracy Watch. Marc, we've spoken about how Donald Trump is now suing Ann Selzer and the Des Moines Register for the apparent crime of publishing a poll that was inaccurate and unfavorable to dear leader Trump. But there is some concern about whether Gannett, which owns the Des Moines Register, will actually defend Seltzer in court. This is according to the New York Times. It's unclear whether Ms. Seltzer will be on her own in bearing the cost of her defense. A spokeswoman for Gannett, which has called the lawsuit meritless, declined to comment on whether the company or the paper would shoulder these costs. Ms. Seltzer declined to comment, remarking, "Right now I'm focused on getting proper legal representation." So is this cagey legal language standard, or does it actually cast doubt on whether Ann Selzer will have the backing of Gannett?
I don't think that anyone looking at the landscape of legacy media today and their complete lack of courage can assume that any major corporation that owns a news outlet will stand behind anything in the face of Donald Trump. This is not standard. You would expect that a publication, a multi-million dollar, if not larger corporation like Gannett that has widespread holdings throughout the country, that the first thing they would do is say, not only is this meritless, but we are going to fight this. We will never settle this. We stand behind the Des Moines Register. We stand behind Ann Selzer, who, by the way, has been a fixture in that publication and has put that publication on the map in many respects and has, I suspect, made Gannett millions and millions or tens of millions of dollars over the year as a result. You would expect that a responsible media corporation would come out with a Sherman-esque statement. And the fact that they didn't, I think, does speak volumes. Let's review the bidding. You've got Jeff Bezos, the owner of the Washington Post, canceling an editorial endorsement and flying to Donald Trump's residence in Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring and cutting a check for the privilege. You've got the LA Times, which has turned into a total mess as a billionaire owner there, has clearly caved to Donald Trump. You have ABC News, as you point out, owned by Disney. And, the coverage on the Disney thing has kind of evolved. We're getting closer and closer to the truth. The New York Times reported that, Disney executives took note of the fact that, it's not good being in litigation with the sitting president, given their widespread business holdings. We are seeing corporation after corporation that owns these media outlets cave. I might add one other. Oliver Darcy, who's a very good media critic reporter, published that the new head of the MSNBC spinoff wants to make sure there's room for Republican voices and wants less incendiary attacks on Republicans. I'm telling you, you have been early to this, Brian. You have been a hero on this, Brian. You spotted this before I did and before almost anybody else did, that the legacy media owned by corporate America were not going to be the friends of Democrats, of progressives, that they were ultimately going to cave. And boy, is that what we're seeing.
What would it say about the state of media more broadly if Gannett ultimately does opt to follow in the footsteps of the ABCs, the Jeff Bezoses, the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, and sacrifices its integrity in deference to Trump? Won't them doing that make it easier for Donald Trump himself to be able to sue the next person, knowing full well that A, he's more inclined to win because look at all of these cases that he can claim victory in before, including the $15 million settlement from ABC, and won't that have a broader chilling effect on media, which ostensibly Gannett would have a vested interest in protecting?
Right. So look, I think a couple of things here to unpack. The first is that I think that this Gannett thing is worth watching, but it's not the only thing. I noticed just recently Semaphore, which is, a new publication, noted that there has been ongoing litigation between the Pulitzer Committee that gave a Pulitzer Prize to the Washington Post and New York Times for some of their coverage around Russia, the Russia investigations in 2017, 2018, or 2017, I guess. But the thrust of the Semaphore article was, this case is going forward. And I'm telling you, I think the reason why Semaphore is writing this, I'm not saying they have inside information, but I think the reason they're writing this now, because this case has been going on now since 2022, is because it's not inconceivable that the media organizations and the representatives of media organizations that have been involved in the review by the Pulitzer Committee, they may be thinking about caving. I hope they're not. I don't have any inside information that they are, but I think Donald Trump thinks that they might. And I think he thinks Gannett might. And the thing is that once you start the wheel spinning of who might give in, it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's point one. But point two is, when Donald Trump was asked about the ABC News settlement in a press conference, the legacy media journalist who asked the question said, are you next going to target independent media journalists and influencers? And he doubled back immediately and said, no, newspapers. Like, here's the thing. He knows he doesn't have leverage over you because you don't have any reason to suck up to Donald Trump. You're not looking to have a White House pass. You're not looking to get inside information from people in his orbit. You don't hold other business interests that he can threaten. So he's not going after independent media. He's going after the big legacy media because it turns out their size, it turns out their diverse business interests, it's actually
a liability.
It actually is a liability. Everyone's had this all wrong. Everyone's thought that because they're these big behemoths, they could stand up to Donald Trump. No. It's precisely because they are big behemoths that they bow down to Donald Trump. And that's why, I've said Democracy Docket, the outlet I started, it will not back down. It will not obey. It will not bend the knee. And I know you feel the same way.
And to that exact point, for people who are watching right now, if you want to support the invaluable work that Marc and his team are doing at Democracy Docket, please make sure to sign up. I'll put the link right here on this screen and also in the post description of this video. Marc, can you speak to that point then on how you have focused on your coverage with Democracy Docket and what you're seeking to do in light of the way that the legacy media is failing to meet its obligations?
Yeah, so look, I started Democracy Docket in 2020 to really focus on the issues of democracy in court, voting rights, elections, and the like. And it grew exponentially, way beyond any hope that I originally had for it, thanks in part to you and your viewers and all of their support. But as we have entered into the last phase of the post-election, where legacy media is simply sitting down rather than standing up, they are bowing down rather than standing tall. I've made a commitment that Democracy Docket is expanding. It's still going to focus on democracy in the courts, but it is going to focus more broadly on the challenges facing democracy and the threats faced by the Trump administration.
Well, look, I firmly believe that independent media is the future of media in this country, and there is not a better person, a better team to be able to have direct access to folks who are thirsting basically for accurate information. So again, for anybody watching right now, if you're looking to support the work that Marc and his team are doing, if you're looking to get an invaluable resource from Marc and his team that they're looking to offer with Democracy Docket, please make sure to sign up. I'll put the link again right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Marc Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.